Hello, everyone out there. And I'm not sure actually if anyone is joining me yet. So I hope y'all can hear me. Looks like we now have a timer in the corner. Who knew? This whole Facebook Live. Well, I usually do it on my phone. Now I'm on the desktop. So maybe it's all different on the desktop. But they have made some changes. So how's it getting better than that? Okay, enough about Facebook and Facebook Live. But I am here live, and I am Dr. Andy Harper, and we are going to talk about heartworm testing and my new plan with my kiddos. If you're familiar with me, I'm not a veterinarian. I'm an animal chiropractor who loves to play with the energy of things, and my life target is to follow the energy, especially with my animals. And it has created so much in my world that I thought I would share it all with you guys. So, what do you do for heartworms? Do you do nothing? Do you do preventative part of the year? Do you do preventative year round? Do you do the preventative but don't really want to, but your vet says you have to? Like, where are you in that spectrum? Well, last week on my podcast, Dr. Andy's World, I did a whole thing on itchies and bugs, and it's spring fever, right? It's springtime. All this stuff starts to grow, allergies come out, bugs come out, and now what do you choose? Well, when it came to heartworm, I actually learned a couple new things, and I am so excited. I went and geeked out a little bit on what else is out there for my animals when it comes to heartworms in particular, because I was actually doing it wrong. So for my animals, my choice, I do not do heartworm preventative because of where I live here in Denver, Colorado in the United States. We have winter about, gosh, it feels like 12 months, but it's not, about 8 or 9 months out of the year, especially at the elevation I live in because I'm up in the foothills. So my search for heartworms was to find this temperature thing. I knew it was related to temperature somehow, the outside temperature. And it turns out, and I have my notes. I took notes. You don't go to 22 years of schooling without knowing how to take some notes, right? So it is 62 degrees. If you do not stay above 62 degrees average, all the way from spring to fall, or most of the year, but right around there. If you have winter and it kills all the mosquitoes, why are we doing year-round heartworm? Okay. So that's always been a question in my world. If you actually have winter, it's freezing at 0 degrees, everything's dead, what is the purpose of year-round heartworm? Ha. Okay. Now you live somewhere where it's warm, right? Most of the year, Florida, Texas, California, at least here in the United States. I really am not familiar with anywhere else out in the world, so you'll have to do your own little research on that, but it is temperature related, meaning the little mosquito, your little vector, cannot turn the little microfilaria into the larvae if it gets too cold. Okay, so even if you have the microfilaria, I had to practice that word, and it does not get warm enough, the mosquito cannot incubate them into the larvae, which then the larvae is what is passed on to the dog. Okay, so if you have temperature on your side, use it to your advantage. Okay, so I was also incorrect about this, and this was very interesting to me. I loved it, that you should just assume your dog does have the microfilaria or the larvae in their system. Haha, right? I'm like, I live in high elevations and I feed my dogs really well and I am sitting on my high horse here, so they do not have heartworm. And what I read and it popped for me. And when things pop for me, with research, scientific studies or not, when they pop for me, that's what's true for me in my world. And that's what I call following the energy. And that's what I look at. That's what I follow. Now, sometimes following that gets me to a scientific study that also, quote unquote, proves it. Sometimes it doesn't. So it has to look one way or the other in my world. So what if it doesn't have to look one way or the other in your world too, in your animals' worlds? Anywho, rein it back in, Andy. There we go. So it popped. And what this holistic veterinarian said was, just assume your animal has microfilaria or the larvae, which is not heartworm disease, which are not the adult heartworms that infiltrate the heart and the pulmonary artery. Okay. But what if we assume we always have these little parasites in our dogs, and if they have an immune system, they have a healthy, well-functioning immune system, it handles those too. Just like if you have a healthy, well-supplied, well-maintained immune system, it also handles all the bacteria, all the viruses, the other things that can make your animal sick. So what if it can also handle parasites and worms? And I'm like, oh, the light bulbs went off. I'm like, yes, of course. My dogs don't have it. No, but my dogs have an immune system that can handle it. See the difference in the energy from my dogs don't have it because I live here and the temperatures don't get cold enough and no, but what if they do have an immune system that can handle it? And I do test for heartworm. I was also doing that incorrectly. I was doing that wrong. So this is where it gets a little detailed orientated, and this is what we did not go into on that radio show last week. So if you want to go check out Dr. Andy's World radio show on Inspired Choices Network or on my website, drandysworld.com. We did talk about other things along with the heartworm, but we did not go into this piece. So this is why you are here if you're interested in how to do testing rather than preventative, if it works for you in your world. Okay. So those little microfilaria and larvae take 5 to 8 months to turn into, I don't know if you can see my hands, turn into the big adult worms that then can really repopulate and really infect your dog with actual heartworm disease. Okay, so you have 5 months. You have a winter where everything's frozen, everything starts to thaw out. Really around here, we could get snow till the end of May. We usually do. I know it blows people's minds, but depending on when it starts to warm up in your world, that's when I used to test for heartworm. That's absolutely the wrong time to do it because there hasn't been any mosquitoes. There hasn't been any infection. So we're not going to get to those adult worms yet. We're not going to get to where those larvae are a little more populated. We're not going to get a positive test here. But if we go along, and I test living here in Denver, in Colorado in October, that would tell me, and if that comes up positive, then I have choice. Then I have choice if I want to do some preventative or if I want to go a holistic route, an immune booster route, or whatever else I choose and decide with my holistic or homeopathic veterinarian. Okay. But then you can still use your preventative because you cannot use the preventatives when you have the full-grown adult worms. And they're going to start to show up at that 6 to 8 month range, right? So in traditional veterinary medicine, you tested in spring, right? Well, yeah, because then those adult worms would have shown up. They would have been infected over the summer, grown, and then they would have been present, and you would have found heartworm disease in the spring. Aha, right? Okay, cool. I was doing it wrong. How's it get even better than that? Now, you can actually still do this if you live in a warm climate year round. You just do it every 4 months. Mark it on your calendar, go in, just get tested. That way you're going to catch it before they become adult worms. That then requires different treatment protocol. That is a different heartworm disease treatment protocol. That is not what we're going into today. Okay. But if you did it every 4 months and your dogs were always negative because they have that immune system, you are feeding a biologically appropriate diet. My point of view, that's raw. You are not over vaccinating. You are not diminishing that immune system with other chemicals. What if their immune system can handle it? And what if it actually turns out to be cheaper to do the testing than the meds year round? And what if those preventative medicines, preventative care, what they tout as preventative care, a little bit of a pesticide every month actually diminishes the immune system and allows these worms to become resistant to those medications. So what if you got double whammy when you're doing the preventative? And there's a fly. How's there a fly already? Anyway, actually, he's been hanging out with me all day. It's been really kind of bizarre. But so the answer to the dogs that are getting heartworm disease on the preventative is to go year round. Is that going to work for you and your animals? So this is information for you to utilize to ask questions and what is going to work for you and your animals. If you're like, Dr. Andy, I'm not doing testing 3 times a year. That's ridiculous. I just want to give them their pills and be done with it. Cool. That's not what I choose for my animals. And I also live in an area where we have a lot of snow, a lot of cold, not a lot of mosquitoes. So just some aha moments I had looking at information for the radio show that I wanted to bring over here and kind of suss out a little bit more for you. I'm going to make sure I got everything. And if you are listening now or in the future, you can pop in some questions and I will. Facebook's pretty good about letting me know when things come up. So I will keep an eye on it and see if I can get you those answers. We talked about, So it's all about the immune system. Interesting. Very hot topic these days in the corona world, right? What if it has more to do with your immune system than anything else? And how do you support your immune system? How do you support the immune system of your animals so they can handle all the bugs that come their way? And there's a lot out there, right? How's it get even better than that? Okay, so a little quick and dirty on heartworm and my new plan for my animals. And I check it out, try it out, do your own research, look up some stuff, find out what's going to work for you and your animals. All right, until we meet again. I am actually back on the radio show. Let me do this really, really quick, and then I'll get out of your hair. I'm back on the radio show this Friday, inspiredchoicesnetwork.com at 3 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. I live in Mountain Standard Time. I live in the mountains. Come on, Andy. 3 p.m. I'm live. There's a chat room. My wonderful producer Keisha's there. We get a handful of other people. There's lots of questions and comments going on behind the scenes. And I believe I'm talking about conscious carnivores, one of my favorite topics. Sometimes we talk about raw feeding, but most of the time we talk about stuff a little more bizarre. I believe this week is, are you willing to be the dominant predator? So check it out. Maybe you are, or maybe you aren't. And what could it change for you and your animals? All right, till next time. What if it's your points of view that create your animals? Bye-bye.